Hey guys, so today I'm gonna make some practical pottery. I'm gonna make a couple of mugs and I'm gonna fire them in my outdoor kiln real fast, and then I'm gonna try using them so you can see the whole process and you can see how this primitive pottery can be used in everyday life. This is the first video in my Practical Primitive series. Let's get started. So a mug is a great practical item that everybody uses every day. In this series of videos, I'm not gonna resort to using chemicals. I'm gonna try to get something that's usable using only primitive materials. So I'm not going to treat this with liquid quartz. I'm going to try to build it and use it using only primitive means. So I'm gonna build the mug out of native clay. I'm gonna slip the inside with something very fine to hopefully kind of seal it a little bit. I'm going to burnish the inside as best I can. I mean, it's hard to reach down inside of a mug, to try to seal it a little more. And then I'm gonna boil some cornmeal in it to try to seal up those remaining pores. And then I'm gonna use it. And I'm making this first one for a friend of mine. So I have a motivation to get this done quickly.
Stars, I wanna drive a faster car. Lay my troubles to rest, blow the smoke through my cigarette. City lights looking fine, and I know this is my time now. I'm gonna be myself, or I can be someone else. No one's stopping me now. Skip my breaks, I'm gonna make mistakes. I just wanna feel alive. It's just what I do when I'm out, so try not to hold me down.
I wanted to take a minute to say a word or two about the round bottom mug. I am extremely fond of the round bottom mug. I think it looks really cool. And I really like them. I've made quite a few of them, and I think they really stand out as being different as well. So when you're hand building a mug, a square-sided mug just looks like any old mug somebody threw on a wheel, whereas a round bottom mug looks really unique and different, and it kind of has that wonky, hand-built sort of feel about it. In this case, the reason I chose to do a flat bottom mug was I wanted to try to seal the inside by slipping and burnishing, and it would be really hard to try to burnish inside of this mug. So the flat bottom is for practical reasons. Although, in my personal life, I prefer the round bottom mug. This is the one I treated with liquid quartz, and this is the mug I actually used to drink out of. In this case, I'm sending it to a friend, and it's going to be flat bottomed because I'm going to seal it really good with slip and burnish. You want to make sure you obliterate the seam at the bottom now, before you start adding more coils. Because if you put it off, it's going to be very hard to reach down inside and work on this later on. Okay, now I just need to trim the base a little bit. Otherwise, it'll have a little bit of a flare at the bottom. So I've got the body of a pretty generous mug made here. I have two things left to do before I let it dry. I have to make and attach the handle, and I need to trim that rim again. The initial rim trimming just kind of gave me room to work because it was so high. There was no use working on that top area, smoothing it and that sort of thing if I wasn't going to need it. So I cut it down. But then as I continue to refine the shape, that rim's going to continue to come up and down a little. So I need another trim at the top, and then I need the handles. And then I'll let it dry a little bit before I apply slip. Now, a word about handles. A traditional pulled handle does not go on a primitive mug. In fact, it would look ridiculous on it. In prehistoric times, handles were generally either a flattened coil or just cut out of a slab. So I'm going to do a flattened coil on this, and I'm going to do a rivet attach. So you may have learned to attach handles by applying them to the outside. In prehistoric times in the Southwest, they were often riveted. That is, the handle goes clear through the body of the mug and then flattens out from the inside. That gives you a very strong handle. Okay, several hours later, I've been letting this dry, and I made another one while you guys were away. So I've got two here to work on now. This is the original. This is the one I made on camera. And say hello to his little friend. They're roughly the same size and shape. They're slightly different, but not significantly, okay? So here's where we're at. They just need a little bit of stone smoothing in places where they're kind of rough. And so I'm gonna go over them with a damp stone and smooth those out. And then they'll be ready for slip right after that. So I'm gonna do some stone smoothing and slipping. And then probably won't get to the polishing tonight, but perhaps. Okay, so I got the mugs all done. They're all painted, slipped, polished, fully dry. They're ready to go. So I'm going to fire those in my little backyard brick kiln today so that we can test them. So in order to do the practical part, to make sure that they're practical and usable, I have to get them fired, and then we'll seal those with some cornmeal, and then, you know, we'll see how they are holding water and actually drinking out of them. So let's get these little mugs fired real quick. All right, firing went off real easy and good. These reached 850 degrees, which is just a fine temperature for these to harden. They ring real nice. This one oxidized better than this one. I have no idea if it had to do with their positioning because they were fairly close, but it's definitely better oxidized. Anyway, I need to get these sealed. So I'm going to use Crisco. I'm going to use some oil to seal these. I think the oil is going to be best. Put a little oil on them, heat them up, put them oil on them, heat them up, and try it that way. So that's what I'm going to do here, just to get these sealed real quick so that I can test out drinking out of them and get this video wrapped up. All right. So let's get some oil on these and get them heated up and see how it does. Actually, just this morning, I was at a potter's get-together at a park here in town with my friend Mats Merman, and he had some pottery that he had been sealing with lard, and it was great. He would put water on them, and it would just bead up on it real good. So, you know, Mats is a believer in using oil to seal these, and I think that works. Whether or not Crisco is as good as lard, he's been using lard, I don't know, but I think it will do the job. All right, these have one coat of oil and one trip through the oven on low. They feel oily to the touch, so I'm thinking I don't want to add another coat right now. And besides, they did something really weird to the colors. I mean, it doesn't even look white anymore. It's really dark and kind of splotchy. So I don't know if this is the right way to do it. They certainly look strange. This one has some areas that are white and then some areas that are very dark. And, you know, it all had fairly even coat of white slip. So I don't even know what to make of that. Anyway, I think I'm just going to let these rest for the night and then try, like, drinking out of them in the morning and see how we're doing. If I find that they're still quite porous, I can always add more oil in the morning. But I think right now, because they're oily to the touch and have some weird colors going on, I'm going to wait and see how they're doing before I add more. And maybe give them some more time to soak up that oil. I might even warm them again gently, see how it works, okay? All right, so I will catch up with you in the morning and we'll see if we can maybe drink some coffee out of these or something like that. Okay, here's the sealed cup. I let them sit out overnight in the night air. I put them through the oven another time, and it's definitely gotten whiter. Still not as white as it was, not as white as I'd like. So I think this one's a little lighter than the other. I don't know if it got less oil or not. If I had this to do over again, I would only treat the inside with oil. I think treating the outside with oil was a mistake. And I think some of the paint, now the paint is not fugitive, but I think some of the paint maybe was a little fugitive and that oil kind of picked it up and then smeared it around into the white clay too. So I don't think I should have treated the outside. Probably should have just done the inside. But what's done is done. And they still look nice, don't get me wrong. Now, you know, the real test, my hot coffee, which seems to be doing quite well. I don't see any moisture leaking into it so far. In fact, it looks a little beaded on the rim here where there's little drops. Does it taste or smell like oil? That's the other question I had. You know, was it going to dissolve some of that Crisco and put it into my coffee? It does not taste like Crisco. I do not see an oil slick on top of the coffee. Probably, though, the first couple times you drink something hot after you've oil treated it, you know, you're going to get some of that oil in there, which is why it's important to use food grade oil. You know, you wouldn't want to use motor oil or linseed oil or something on these, because you are going to get some of it into your drink. The other thing to keep in mind about primitive pots like this that are sealed and used for food, if I was drinking milk out of this, or if I was maybe eating chicken noodle soup out of this, it is still getting some of the liquid inside of it. You know, the oil seal is not 100%, and it could start to kind of get nasty and rancid. And so you'd want to be careful still if you were eating things out of it that were spoilable. You know, coffee and tea are not going to get rancid. Chicken broth, milk, I mean, these kind of things can get rancid. So keep that in mind. And if you do want to eat soup out of it, for example, then you're going to need to heat these up to the point where you're killing that bacteria frequently. But a really good coffee mug. Now this one I'm going to send to my friend, and so I chose not to put coffee in it because I didn't want it to pre-smell like coffee, you know, before he got it. Although it does smell a little like shortening. I might run some hot water through this to kind of maybe dissolve some of the surface shortening before I send it. That might be a wise thing to do. But again, this is doing just well, just really well. I don't see any moisture on the outside at all. And it's a good, generous cup of coffee. I would totally use one of these. But in this case, I'm going to sell this on my website. So if you're interested in this mug, look for it on my website. It'll be available soon. Thanks for coming along on this adventure with me today. If you'd like to see another video where I'm cooking in and eating out of primitive earthenware pottery, check out this video right over here. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.